my name's Chubby Ballsack, CBS for short, but no need for formalities here. You can call me Chubbs. CBS also stands for Call Bullshit. I'm not sure if you've noticed, the world we've been presented with, that's been shoved down our throats all our lives via mainstream media and the education system, is not what it seems. I've come to learn we've effectively been sold a well-polished turd, and that pisses me off. So much in fact that I've made it my mission to help everybody else wake up and smell the bullshit. I know it's not pleasant, it stinks, but the sooner people wake up to the festering shit infestation which has turned our world upside down, the sooner we can get to shoveling out all the shit and start running things properly. There's just way too much bullshit for me to call out.
That is one big pile of shit.
So I'm mainly going to concentrate on a pile of crap that just about everyone with eyes and a brain can test for themselves, if it's pointed out to them. A well-polished pile of shit so massive, so pungent, that when people see it for what it is, they begin to notice the shit piling up all over everything else. Before the technology even existed to verify the shape of our world and the structure and size of the universe around it, the whole world adopted this convoluted model of giant balls with near infinite space between them, where down is up and up is down. All of the lights in our sky became giant balls floating, no, falling around each other, clustered in unimaginably large groups of billions of big balls surrounded by unimaginably large expanses of nothing. Literally nothing. These all shoot outward from a 14 billion year old explosion of nothing. Literally. The Earth we live on also became a giant ball. One with so much mass that everything on its surface is stuck on with even force, even as it spins every 24 hours and orbits the sun, and so on. Hilariously, the one practical experiment that most of our heliocentric cosmology rests on is pretty much just balls. A pair of lead balls, to be precise, hung from the ceiling of a man cave belonging to the eccentric and probably inbred 18th century noble Henry Cavendish. Somehow, an elaborate contraption of shafts, wires, pulleys, and a large rod, along with a pair of balls, was used to define the gravitational constant, which has barely changed to this day. As far as anyone can tell, the experiment hasn't been replicated since, not for lack of trying. Meanwhile, outside of fairy tales, nobody, anywhere, ever, has witnessed gravitational attraction between large objects in the lab or in nature. It all sounds so absurd it's hard to believe anybody fell for it. It took a long time, many years, geometry, calculations to make the model fit the observations of nature to make it somewhat believable, and many more years for the Catholic Church, headed by Jesuit astronomers, to push it through the education system. It's only within the last century, through space agencies like NASA, that the model has been verifiable. But in the age of internet, their endeavours are being systematically outed as Freemasonic frauds. And in the astronomy community, I'm sure all the way up to the highest level, they mean well, but it's basically a case of misinterpretation of data, when the model you're basing everything on is fraudulent and the big observatories are run by Jesuits and Freemasons. Well, nothing solid is built on rotten foundations.
If the government or NASA had said to you that the Earth is stationary, imagine that. And then imagine we are trying to convince people that no, it's not stationary, it's moving forward at 32 times rifle bullet speed and spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. We would be laughed at. We would have so many people telling us, "You're crazy. The Earth is not moving. We would be ridiculed for having no scientific backing for this convoluted moving Earth theory. And not only that, but then people would say, oh, then how do you explain a fixed, calm atmosphere and the sun's observable movement? How do you explain that? Imagine saying to people, no, the atmosphere is moving also, but is somehow magically velcroed to the moving Earth. The reason is not simply because the Earth is stationary. So what we are actually doing is what makes sense. We are saying that the moving Earth theory is nonsense. The stationary Earth theory makes sense, and we are being ridiculed. You've got to picture it being the other way around to realize just how ridiculous this situation is. This theory from the government and NASA that the Earth is rotating and orbiting and leaning over and wobbling is absolute nonsense. And yet people are clinging to it tightly, like a teddy bear. They just can't bring themselves to face the possibility that the Earth is stationary, though all the evidence shows it. We feel no movement, the atmosphere hasn't been blown away, we see the sun move from east to west. Everything can be explained by a motionless Earth without bringing in all these assumptions to cover up previous assumptions gone bad. If you find from your own experience that something is a fact and it contradicts what some authority has written down, then you must abandon the authority and base your reasoning on your own findings. So investigate the subject for yourself and ask questions.
So after playing around with some 3D software and realizing that the azimuthal equidistant map, which is the commonly used flat Earth map, and the globe, like all the globes that we see and most of the images of Earth that we see are both derived from the Mercator map. So here's how they both work. And that got me thinking, all these differences we've been noticing in NASA's representation of the Earth that they've given us recently, it makes you wonder how they fucked it up. Like the technology, this 3D technology has been around for a long time, and they would have been able to do it without the graphic projection, just using straight maths since the 60s, no doubt. So this 2012 globe sticks out like dog's balls, and also in 2012 you had the Felix Baumgartner jump, which, as we all know, is shot with a wide-angle lens, a fisheye lens, causing the horizon to curve to a ridiculous degree. So again, that sticks out like dog's balls. Also in 2012 you had NASA releasing this Grail footage of the moon, which quite frankly is terrible. Like, it's pretty bad, you got to admit. So yeah, what's up with that? And how come it took us this long to figure it out?
In this film, we'll discover how
magnificent
drugs
really
are. Despite appearances, I'm just a pick from
Manchester, which is one of the driest places on the planet.
These are the scablands where geezers kick off. at a moment's notice, making it the most violent place in the solar system.
So it's either death or whiskey, but
I'm lucky enough to escape. I've come to one of Earth's natural wonders.
to do something that I have always wanted to do.
I'm about to get incredibly high.
You only really need three things. First of all, you need
Copious amounts of crack.
Secondly, you need
The most amazing white
lines. Bang, bang, bang. Literally hoover it up. And thirdly, you need some kind of solvent. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Soon after the first line of speed,
You sniff a lot because your nose becomes and makes you feel like you've had a few drinks. But then, imagine this. I got absolutely...
smashed on acid.
It is quite incredibly beautiful. And that's why I love physics.
But as you head towards the light, you enter a realm of giants.
It's beginning to come. The end of the world.
I
Lost it very quickly. I suppose that's pretty much what most people would expect.
Eventually, though, I had the most devastating come down.
Now, I'm significantly denser
And
50 times wetter than
ever.
And that is one of the wonders of the solar system.
Hello fellow YouTubers out there reveling in the cyberspace matrix. Not too bad as far as matrices go, or is that matrices? I don't know, that's irrelevant. Anyway, in my last video I tried to prove that the sun is a whole lot closer than we've been told by showing the shadows of clouds on the ground and crepuscular rays which seem to converge right at the sun as opposed to coming in the atmosphere parallel like. It can be hard to get your head around this sort of thing, and a lot of people probably think this is just a trick of perspective. So to disprove that, I've set up a simulation in After Effects. I've attempted to make a similar scene, and first I'll show you how the shadows of the clouds look with a near sun. Watch what happens as I slowly raise it. As you can see, when the sun gets higher, the shadows of the clouds seem to slowly converge. So let's see what happens when I switch the light to one that's more like the sun, as it's been explained to us. After Effects has the option to make a parallel light source. So, as the sun is supposedly 96 million miles away, 155 million Ks, it's pretty much parallel. As you can see, when I draw lines from the shadows on the ground through to the clouds, they kind of diverge or converge at the bottom. So as I expected, the simulator with the close sun seems to be a much better representation of what we actually see in the sky. And with the sun simulation making parallel rays, as we should be getting from a sun 96 million miles away, the shadows do not match up with the reality we can witness with our own two eyes. So how far away did they tell us the sun is again? Because you know what? I've got to call bullshit.
Flat Earth Proof 18. Gravity or density. On the ball Earth, there's no real up or down. It's all relative to the center, and this is possible thanks to gravity. Now, naturally, a spinning object tends to keep other objects from sticking to it due to centrifugal force, normally causing the objects to fly right off. But on the ball Earth, thanks to gravity, of course, people, buildings, and even the very air are all stuck to the surface of the ball and would be none the wiser had it not been for authorities such as Galileo, Newton, and NASA to tell us otherwise. Thusly, considering gravity, if objects with mass are attracted towards each other, why hasn't there ever been an object massive enough to demonstrate that water would stick to it, as is claimed the oceans, lakes, and rivers do on a ball Earth? And if the excuse is then given that the Earth's gravity would far supersede that of any other object, then how is it that the moon is said to affect water levels at sea level on Earth? Further, how is the combined mass of a helium-filled balloon repelled by the mass of the Earth? Or, what up there is attracting the balloon to itself? Or are these really just the laws of density and buoyancy, with up and down actually existing as we perceive? Obviously, dense objects sink when placed in a less dense medium, and this law of density buoyancy perfectly explained the physics of falling objects long before Isaac Newton proposed his theory of gravity. But Isaac Newton was a knight of the British Order, and I personally find it strange that he was allegedly born on Christmas Day and died on the vernal equinox. And why did his coat of arms have 2 crossed bones on a black shield? Was he indeed a Freemason or Rosicrucian? I also question Galileo and his supposed experiments dropping his balls from the Leaning Tower of Pisa. While Giordano Bruno and other contemporaries of Galileo were burned at the stake after being publicly tortured, Galileo was merely placed under supposed house arrest, while his associations with the Jesuits have long been acknowledged. So investigate the subject for yourself and ask questions.